In this episode, we fly back to Leros Island in Greece, where we left Wishful Thinking for the winter, and get stuck into boat jobs to prepare to launch her for our second year of sailing. We enjoyed the Tasmanian summer catching up with our family and friends. Before we knew it, it was time to head back to Greece. We had 50 kilos of luggage each, including lots of boat parts, a paddleboard and a 12-volt fridge freezer, because these things can be expensive to buy in Greece. We spotted the fridge being loaded on the plane to Athens and were happy that it at least made it that far. We were pleased to find the boat in ship-shape condition when we arrived. It had been moved closer to the gate of the boatyard because we'd be one of the first boats launched for the season in early March. Everything's literally just as we left it.
Yeah.
There's no water, no mould.
Yeah.
Looks really good.
Batteries are 100%.
Oh, good.
So I'll still trickle charging the batteries.
We hauled all of our luggage up onto the boat and unpacked everything, including the fridge, to make sure it survived the trip. We then got straight into the boat jobs, starting with work below the waterline to make sure we'd be ready to launch.
So just been cleaning up a few rust spots on the keel. It's a cast iron keel. So I've been using the grinder. Just knocked back a few spots that rushed over from last year. And I've got this rust inhibiting paint I'm going to put on next.
We serviced our seacocks and they all worked, but we decided to replace 3 old ones because they were very corroded.
So we're replacing a few seacocks this year. 1, 2, 3. And when we're removing the seacocks, these 2 through holes rotated, so that they need replacing. Fortunately, this one here, the smaller one, isn't flush on the inside. Like when I put this washer on, it doesn't sit flush to the hull. It's okay on the outside, but on the inside there's like some fibreglass reinforcing, so it's not level through there. So what we're thinking about doing is actually moving away from that reinforcement and actually putting a new through hole here. So we'll have 1, 2, 3. We're actually blocking that one up. Under here, we've got our 2 sensors for some of our instruments. So we've got our depth and speed comes in there. And there was an old one there. We've taken that out because it's not being used anymore. So we're going to look at filling that hole in at the same time.
Ryan then prepped the hull for fiberglassing by removing the gel coat with the grinder. We put 3 layers of fiberglass on the outside and inside of the hull, with a thickened epoxy plug in the middle. We put glad wrap over the top temporarily to hold the fiberglass sheets on while the epoxy cured.
So our fiberglass has gone nice and hard, what we did yesterday. The 2 holes that we filled off, just tidying them up, just cutting the excess off, but we'll let them cure really nice before we sand them through holes. I just wiped them this morning with acetone just to remove any dust that's on them. This one here had like a screw that was retaining the old through holes, so I put some thickened epoxy in that yesterday. So that just got sanded. They've both been masked up, so the sticker flex will stick to the gel coat but not go outside of that area. Put a nice big dab of sealant all the way around these. Then on the inside put more sealant to make sure it gets all in the hole. I've just been preparing the hole for painting. So I've just been sanding a few spots that where there was some flakes and stuff, so that the paint sticks. New through holes are in now, and all the Sikaflexes cured, so I just cut that away. Leaves these donuts of Sikaflex, so it's nice and hard. I can just see around the outside of the through holes that it's about a 1.5 millimetre seal in there now, which is good.
We met a German couple, Tamara and Otto, in the boatyard. Their epic traditional style ketch was anchored out in the bay, but they were visiting the yard to look for some parts. They were going away for a few days and asked if we could look after their cat Chicho. I love cats, so I agreed straight away, and Chicho moved in and made himself at home. He knew how to climb ladders because he'd lived in a boatyard on Aegina Island, where they adopted him, after he'd travelled there on a fishing boat from Paros. We were worried that he might run away, but he'd spend the day exploring around the boatyard and further afield before coming back for food and to sleep on the boat. We were basically the only people in the boatyard until a Greek Coast Guard boat was hauled out next to us. Chicho liked to hang out on their boat as well. We were relieved when they finally launched again because they were slightly intimidating neighbours. We were even more relieved that the crane didn't hit our rigging. They like to cut it fine in this boatyard and cram in as many boats as possible. It was then time to paint the hull with antifoul. We did 2 coats, which took about 4 hours. The paint looks black but actually fades to light blue in the water. Our new neighbour in the boatyard after the Coast Guard left was an Italian called Giorgio. That's his music you can hear in the background. It made us feel a bit like artists as we finished off our painting. Ryan also installed our new solar panel and charge controller. We upgraded the panel size from 100 to 240 watts, more than doubling our capacity. This was the largest panel that would fit on our existing solar arch and would be plenty to power everything we need on board. We were pleased to finally unpack and install the new panel, after it had been stored on deck all winter because it wouldn't fit down the companionway. The solar arch also got a polish before we installed the new panel. We forgot to film the rest of the install, but here's the finished result. It's been working really well so far.
Just finishing putting the engine back together after we winterised it last year. The new impeller in this year. Yeah, the belt's got to go back on. So I just loosened that last year so that it wasn't under tension for months on end in the same place without being used. Yeah, already did an oil change last year. We flushed all the seawater system with antifreeze over winter.
We had an old macerator on the boat which breaks up toilet waste before it's discharged. It was broken though and not in use. We decided to remove it because it was taking up unnecessary space in our rebirth storage.
Removing the old macerator that was connected to the forward head. So now we're just going to disconnect some hoses and then disconnect the power. On the good news or the bad news?
Bad news.
Bad news first. Bad news is I've just taken off one of the hoses on the macerator. That's full.
Oh god. No wonder it smells like shit up here. As soon as I came back down here I could smell it. It's like a very light, decomposed shit smell.
Well, it's probably been like 15 years in there. It's like compost.
That's not good.
I've disconnected the power, that's the good news. Bad news is, if we spill anything, it's going to go through these bilges all the way through to the main bilge.
Can we tape up the ends of the hoses?
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, just there's one hose I need to take off, which is like sort of down low on the tank. There's a hole on the top and down the bottom on the side. Mm-hmm. Maybe we try and seal up the top one and then sort of lay it over a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then take that one off. It's not good.
Luckily, we managed to remove the macerator with no spillage. So today I've been resealing the chain plates. So I've scraped the old sealant from around the edge of the plates and underneath. First I taped it up, put the sealant on, squashed it down, and I'm screwing it back on, and then when it's set a bit I'll pull the tape off. So you can see now the tape's removed, the sealant's all nice and tidy. This one's obviously in progress, so the tape's still on. Screws need to be fixed back down, and this one as well. The boatyard is out of town, so it can be tricky to get supplies. A bakery van visited the yard most days, so we bought bread from them. We also caught the bus into Lucky a few times to get groceries and go to the chandleries, which were cheaper and better stocked than the one at the boatyard. The bus was always entertaining, with plenty of yelling and loud Greek music.
So last year we installed a bilge pump in our boat with a float switch, so that we have an automatic and manual function. Automatic just stays on all the time, and if the float switch goes off, the pump starts. And what we've added to that this year is a alarm. So when that float switch does go up, or if it goes up, there's also an alarm in the wiring to stop the siren, and to continue pumping we can switch to manual. Yeah, so to install this alarm we basically have power going one way, so it's able to go into the alarm, and then when manual is switched on, power goes to the pump, but it's not able to go to the alarm. So we used a solar diode, which is in solar panels.
This was the diagram Ryan worked off, which someone had helpfully shared on a 12-volt boating group on Facebook. The green symbol is the alarm and the red symbol is the solar diode.
So yeah, it's just useful having quite a loud alarm, especially if we're up on deck sailing. You can't hear the bilge pump working, it's too quiet. It's like an industrial alarm that you have on vehicles or heavy vehicles on construction sites or mine sites. You have to buy some branded bilge one. It costs $100. This was, I think, 10 or 20 bucks or something for the alarm. It's got a new switch panel here for 12-volt accessories. I'm going to run fridge and some work lights to the back of the boat. So I'm just going to solder on a length of wire onto this switch panel, which will power the panel.
This was the end result. Ryan then finished wiring in the fridge.
I basically wired the fridge to a small panel that I installed. Just gone through under the floor in a few spots through the engine bay, and connected. The fridge uses Anderson plug connections, which are a nice connection. I've just wired in the Anderson plug. So we've just turned it on for the first time and put a couple of things in there. Yeah, we're happy that it's sounding really good and stuff, because it's been on 3 different planes. It needs to be picked up a bit higher so that it gets over the top of the bench. So we're just on the lookout for a bit of timber, maybe a sheet of plywood or something, and we'll just build a base.
We bought some plywood in Lucky, painted it with epoxy and mounted the fridge on that. Next time we upgrade our anchor and chain, refurbish an old water maker which came with the boat, and do some other final jobs to get ready for launch day.